The girl who warned me not to marry him. She looked me straight in the eyes and said, "You're kind, you're good, but I would never marry that man." I laughed it off that night. I had no idea a stranger sitting on a curb was about to save my entire life. My name is Emily, and this is the story of how a 12-year-old girl with torn shoes and an empty stomach changed everything I thought I knew about the man I was about to marry. Ryan and I almost had a fight right outside the restaurant, on the very day we were supposed to pick our wedding menu. I knew this conversation was coming eventually. I just never expected him to start it the second we were about to choose a table and lock in the venue. He pulled the car over and looked around at the little building with its faded sign. "God, this place is a dump," he said. I didn't get angry. I just shrugged and told him I liked it. My friends and I used to come here all the time. The owner was always kind, and the food never disappointed. He turned to face me. "Emily, are you serious right now? You really don't get it. We're planning the most important day of our lives." I stayed calm. "Ryan, please don't yell, and we can't afford anything more expensive right now." He slammed his hands on the steering wheel. "You say that while your father's sitting on a fortune." My face changed. "Ryan, we've been through this. It's easy to live off someone else's money, but that's not who I want to be. Dad already gave you a good job. If that's not enough, we can wait to get married." He tried to swallow his anger. He always thought I was stubborn, maybe even a little foolish, but he didn't want another fight. "Fine, let's not argue. Let's just go in." I noticed him change the subject, but I didn't want to fight either, so I let it go. The little restaurant sat on the edge of town. I used to live nearby, and I had so many good memories there with my friends. It was warm, cozy, and welcoming. Most importantly, it was affordable. The owner used to give us discounts and always joked that she was helping out the broke college girls. Now her daughter ran the place, and she was every bit as sweet. I had come back once before, just to be sure. The daughter was a little heavier set, but kind and gentle, with a soft heart just like her mother's. I felt good about the choice. I made the decision fast, and I made it with confidence. As we walked toward the entrance, Ryan took my hand. That's when I noticed a girl sitting near the door. I recognized her. Once she had tried to clean windshields and headlights for spare change. Her clothes were in rough shape. Today she was just sitting there, watching people pass by. I stopped walking, but then I went inside anyway. Ryan sighed, thinking, as always, that I was lost in my own little world. A minute later, I came back out with food and a drink in my hands. He sighed again. "I wonder if there's a single homeless person left in this city that Emily hasn't fed," he muttered to himself. I walked straight over to her. I handed her the food. "Hi, I'm Emily. This is my fiancé, Ryan." She looked at the food and smiled. "Thanks, I'm Nora," she said. She ate a little, then wrapped the rest carefully. "This is for my dad. He's sick." I was caught off guard. I pulled some cash from my bag. "Take this too. I don't have much else on me right now." But Nora shook her head. "No, I'm not a beggar. I have a home, but thank you for the food." Then she stood, took a step, turned back around and said something strange. "You're good, you're kind, but I wouldn't marry that man. You don't know him." Ryan lost it. "Can you believe this after we just helped her?" he shouted. I elbowed him quietly, but the girl had already walked off. Ryan muttered under his breath, "Emily, one day all these people you keep helping are going to hurt you." I smiled and looped my arm through his. "You'll cry if they do," he sighed. "You're insane." I laughed loudly, but that night sleep never came. I couldn't stop replaying what Nora had said. Why would she say I didn't know him? What did she mean? I sat up in bed. It was late. I figured Ryan would be asleep, but my mind wouldn't rest. I threw on clothes quickly, telling myself I wasn't spying, I just needed to drive. But somehow I ended up parked outside his apartment building. His car wasn't there. That was strange. I stared at his dark windows, but didn't use my key to go in. Some part of me already knew the truth. I drove around the city with no destination in mind. Then, out of nowhere, I spotted his car moving slowly ahead of me. It turned into a courtyard. I followed on foot, and there he was with a beautiful woman. They could barely walk straight. They were kissing, touching. I watched in complete shock. My wedding was 2 weeks away, and there was my fiancé acting like this. Once they disappeared into the building, I walked back to my car, hands shaking. I drove for a while just trying to breathe. Eventually, I went home and finally fell asleep. The next morning, my father caught me up early. "You're up early. Did you go out with Ryan last night?" he asked. "No, I was alone. Dad, we need to talk," I said seriously. He knew right away something was wrong. Later that day, I drove back to the restaurant hopping to find Nora. I looked everywhere but couldn't spot her. Then I noticed her sitting by the small pond out back. I smiled and went inside, came back out with food and sat down beside her. She smiled at me. "Are you alone?" she asked. "Yes," I said. "Are you hungry?" she sighed. "Sure, things are rough at home right now." I smiled and opened the food bag. Nora looked happy. "Will you eat with me?" she asked. I hesitated, then laughed. "Why not?" "I don't need to diet for a wedding anymore." She laughed too. "Why would you need to diet anyway? You're already so thin." We laughed together. Then Nora asked, "Did you dump him?" I nodded. "Yes, in my head at least, he doesn't know yet." Then I asked her the question that had been eating at me. "Nora, how did you know? How did you know about him?" She burst out laughing, tried to stop, couldn't. When she finally caught her breath, she said, "I saw him with other women. He's not exactly easy to miss." He was with one who looked like this. She made a funny shape with her hands, mimicking curves, and I laughed too. We both flopped down onto the grass and laughed like little kids. That afternoon, Ryan called. "Emily, your dad's lost his mind. He's dumping all this extra work on me. Can you talk to him?" I said, "Well, you're the head of supplies now." He said, "But I'm your future husband." I answered, "I don't think son-in-law is an actual job title on my father's farm." He sounded confused. "Are you mad at me?" I smiled. "No, I'm happy. Please don't come over." But he kept pushing. "Emily, let me explain." I said no. "Maybe you should go explain things to your red-headed friend instead." "Oh, and the wedding's off." He screamed through the phone, but I hung up. He called again, and again. I blocked his number. Half an hour later, he was pounding on my front door. My father peeked through the window. "Ryan's here. What do I tell him?" I said. "Tell him I moved to the moon." Then I stood up anyway. I wanted to face him myself. Ryan looked wrecked when I opened the door. "Emily, that was my sister," he lied. "Let me introduce you to her." I shook my head. "Don't lie to me. If she really is your sister, then what you did is even worse. Don't come back here. I already canceled the restaurant too." He grabbed my arm. "Emily, are you out of your mind? I owe people money. They'll kill me." I pulled my arm free. My father stepped forward. "Leave, or I'm calling the police." Ryan didn't have a choice. He left. The next day I went back to the restaurant, but Nora wasn't there. I sat in my car for an hour, waiting. Guilt crept in. I should have asked where she lived. I went inside. "Excuse me, do you know where Nora is?" The staff looked worried. Someone had reported her for begging. Social services had come. Her father was sick, and if things weren't sorted out within 2 days, they were going to take her away. My eyes went wide. "Who reported her?" I asked. "A man named Ryan Callahan," the woman said. "Wait, isn't that your ex-fiancé?" I didn't answer. I just ran. I had to help her. I needed my father's support. Later, much later, Nora walked into the room with her chin held high. "I'm ready." My father and I laughed. "Nora, you look like a princess." She ran over and hugged me tight. "Will my dad like it?" she asked. "Of course, you've been doing so well. No more biting your nails, eating properly, sitting up straight." Nora let out a deep breath like she'd just accomplished something enormous. I smiled. "All right, let's go. Your dad still shouldn't be on his feet too long." She looked up at me. "He's really going to walk again on his own." I told her, "Not just walk, run." "You should thank Grandpa David," I added. My father smiled, watching his daughter and Nora walk off together. He had never seen me this soft, this brave. I was full of care, and he was proud of me. Nora's father turned out to be a genuinely good man who had simply run out of luck. If something ever grew between him and me, my father would be glad. He seemed honest, kind, and I seemed happy too. Everything felt hopeful. 3 months later, once Nora's father had fully recovered, my family and Nora's celebrated a beautiful wedding, right there in that same little restaurant, exactly the way it had once been planned.